Alright, welcome back. So in this video, we are going to continue with our authentication demo, right? And what we're going to do is we're basically going to set up the passport and express sessions things in our code because they do require you to write some lines of code to actually get started, right? Alright, so but before we can even do that, of course, one thing is obvious that we need to do. I'll move out of this. So this error is basically because we had done mongoose.connect and I had saved, but the Mongo daemon was not running. So that's what this is for. So now I'll have to do npm i-s and let's install all the things at once. So I'll need passport local, mongoose. I'll have to spell that right. And I'll have to do express session. Alright, so now we have got our 4 packages here and we can start working with them. Excellent. So, okay. So first of all, let's just install, let's just require all of them, right? That's always the first step to working with a package. So I'll have to do 4 require statements here. So const passport is equal to require passport const, and this is normally named local strategy or passport local. Great. And the next we have is const passport local mongoose is equal to require passport local mongoose and const express sessions is equal to require express session. Excellent. So now we've done a lot of things and great. So we've required a lot of things now and we can now start working with them, right? So whenever you are working with passport and specifically this local strategy, we're talking about this strategy now. So there are some app.use statements that you'll have to do every time, right? And you cannot work without them. So let's just do that. And as they are a lot, so I'll like put a separate comment for it. I'll do passport setup, right? So we'll start one by one. So first is passport app.use passport dot initialize, right? So initialize is just a method that, as the name suggests, it initializes passport in our application, right? And we can use it now. So I'll duplicate this and the only thing that will change is passport dot, and after that we will have session. So this is basically related to the session thing that we had seen earlier, and I'm not going to explain the use of each and every single line that we're going to write right now because these are one of the lines that you will have to like take from the previous code whenever you're starting again, or eventually you'll remember it, but until you don't, you can just take it from the previous code, and if you are ever switching strategies, then you'll have to like change these lines and do whatever it is needed according to the particular strategy, right? But I'll just give an overview that this is for like initializing passport in our application and this is for initializing sessions in our application, right? Sessions in our application, right? And let the next line now will passport dot use new local strategy user dot authenticate. Now, before we understand this line, we'll have to actually make the user schema, right? So I'll close these 3 JS tabs. And before we write this, let's set up our user schema before we do anything else now, because it will require us to use the user schema a little, right? Alright, so we could do that in a separate file because that is some code, but I'll probably just do it here, right? Great. So I'll do mongoose. So now I'll do const user schema is equal to new. So this needs to be small u, right? New mongoose dot schema with a capital S. And inside here, I'll just do username. Username is a string, and password will also be a string, right? Although we're not going to save the password directly, as you will see, but still password will be a string. Alright, and the last thing that we need to do is const user is equal to mongoose dot model user, and we need to have user schema. Great. So now there's actually just one thing that's left, and that is that we have to use passport local mongoose with this. So here, let me just tell you the actual use of passport local mongoose. So what it does is, what we can do with this, we can plug this in to this user model, and what this will basically do is this will add some methods to this model that will help us do things really easily, right? And they will all be auth related things, right? Great. So let's do that, and that will be just one line, right? And that actually needs to be done before the model. So what we'll do is we'll do user schema dot plugin passport local mongoose. Excellent. Now when our model is made, it has a lot of methods from this passport local mongoose too. And we can simply use them for all our authentication purposes. So now let's do the next line that we were doing, which is passport dot use new local strategy user dot authenticate with a small a, right? So what this is doing is this is just initializing our local strategy for the passport, and user dot authenticate. Now you can see the user is our model right here, right? And the authenticate function inside the user has come due to this passport local mongoose, right? Great. So this is our next line, and after this we'll have a line that says, so it'll just be two more passport dot something lines. So it will be passport dot serialize user, and I'll tell you the meaning of these in just a moment. Pass user dot serialize user is a method. Great. And we'll have a similar line for deserialize user. S actually remains small, and it will be deserialize user. So what these two lines are basically doing is that, if you remember, I told you that everything that we will be doing will be kind of encrypted, right? So this serialize user will be encrypting things for us, and this deserialize will be de-encrypting things for us, right? So these two lines are basically for encryption and decryption specifically at some step of the authentication process. Great. So these are 5 lines, and now there's just one thing left, which is actually initializing this express session, right? And that we'll actually have to do before this app.use. So I'll do app.use express session, and then we'll give a method, right? So we're basically calling the thing that we have required from this express session, just like we call express to store into app. We'll do express session and we'll call it, and then we give a object inside of it, right? And this object will be will have 3 properties. One will be secret, and the secret is basically what is used for encryption and decryption, and this will decide what the encrypted string is and decrypted is. And you don't actually have to worry about it. You can just give some random secret string here. These could be English words too, doesn't matter, this could be anything. So for now we'll just do this is a sample app. Great. Next is resave false and save uninitialized false. Now I'm not going to go into what these two mean, and that is basically because these are just the things that you should have here, and if you don't have them, then when you run your thing on your terminal, here it is, right? When you run your app on the terminal, it will say that you need to have a save initialized property in your this, and that's why you can just add it for now, right? And you can see its meaning later when you actually need to. Great. So now, by writing these lines, we have actually initialized our passport setup, our passport in our app, right? And now we can start working with it. Great. So in this video, the next thing and the last thing that we're going to do for this particular video is adding the register logic. Great. So first of all, this register is a form, and that form has to submit to somewhere, right? So I'll make a route for that, and it will submit to slash register itself, right, as a post. And then we'll have recres, and we need to have some logic down here. And for now, just to test it out, we'll just do res.send post. Great. And now I'll go to the register.ejs, and inside the form, I'll give an action as slash register, and the method will be post. Great. So, and we need to have a button to actually submit this. Great. So now let's visit slash register here, and let's see if that's working. And before that, we'll have to start the server and MongoD here. So MongoD starts here. Great. Excellent. And I'll do node 1. Running server on port 3000. Excellent. So now I'll do register. And I see name, password, submit. And if I click on submit, I'm taken to the post flow. Excellent. So now I can actually start doing things. Great. So what we basically have to do inside this register thing is we have to take the data from this form and we have to add it to our user database, right? But one thing that we need to do before we start doing the passport thing, which is that thing is less interesting, is we need to add body parser. Because if you remember, we are taking data from a form, so we need to have body parser, otherwise we will not have a rec.body object and it will not be able to do anything. So I'll do body parser. And to make that work, we'll have to install it. So let's open a new tab here. So I'll do npmi-s parser. Great. And now we need to have our body parser line, right? We'll do that before the passport, let's say. Body parser line, and we'll do app.use body parser.url encoded extended true. A sample, a standard body parser line that you'll have to write in every code in which you are taking data from a form, right? Excellent. So now we can start making our things. So inside this route, first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do user dot register, right? And this will be a function. So this function is basically coming from this passport local mongoose plugin, right? This was inside this, and this has been plugged into the schema. Great. And inside here, I'll do new user, and in here, so you will now pass the details of the user that you want to make, right? So the username is actually rec.body. And we have not given names to the things inside the form yet. So let's first do that. So here, the name will be username, and the name here will be password. So the username will be rec.body.username. And you might think that we'll give password like this, like doing password, but let me tell you that's not what happens. And that's, so we'll not store the password like that, and that's basically because we don't store the password, like if I enter the password as the word password, right, PASSWORD is my password, So it will not be stored like that in the database. It will be like hashed. Hash basically means it will be converted to a long string, a really, really long string, which we'll see after we register one user, right? We'll see a demo, and that will be stored in our database, right? So we can just pass the password here. What we need to do is inside this register function, it is expecting a second argument, which is the password. So what this register function will now do is it will take the username as this, and it will convert this password to a long hashed string, a long encrypted string, and that will be stored in our database, right? And the next thing we'll do is I'll do rec res. So first we'll have to check for, so of course this will be error user, error user. So now it will be if error. So there's some code formatting going on here, which is automatic by an extension that I've installed in VS Code. So the things that I'm writing are actually the same. Don't get intimidated by their moving on separate lines and things like that, right? You can ignore that. So I'll do console.log error. And there's actually some chance of an error here if I made some mistake. So let's just redirect to somewhere so that we can see if we have got an error. Return res.redirect slash register. Or let's render the page, right? Great. And otherwise, so what this return res.render does is this line will be executed, and then nothing after this will be executed, and the code will return, right, to this, whatever this is, right? Great. So now the next thing we'll do is we'll actually log the user in, right? So it will be passport dot authenticate local, and then we'll have rec res function, and I'll explain the syntax in just a moment, and this will be res.redirect slash secret. Excellent. So what's happening here now in this passport.authenticate is this is now logging us in, right? And basically we are doing like we are authenticated in the local strategy. So if you had some other strategy, you would have the name of that in here. And once that happens, we are redirecting to slash secret, right? That's basically all that's happening with this passport.authenticate. Great. So now our register is basically done, and we can like try this out, right? Let's do it. So I'll refresh the page, nothing should change yet. So now I'll enter the name, and the name will be, let's say, John Doe as usual. Password will be the word password, right? And I'll submit. And it takes some time. Let's see if we have an error here. This should work immediately. So there's some error here, right? Let's see what that is. So a user already exists. All right. So this should have redirected, and this did not. The user was actually made, but this did not redirect, and that's there. Let's see what that. Alright, so I figured that out and why that is, and that's basically because this is not the syntax that the passport or this should have. So, and just to show you better, this is the syntax that it has, right? We have passport.authenticate local, and the bracket closes, and then we have rec res this, right? So our user is actually registered, so let's make something new, and let's do Blondo1. Password will still be password, and I'll submit. Let's see what happens. And I clicked that again, so it again showed me the error. So let's just first see our Mongo if we have got the thing that we were aiming for. So now I'll go to Mongo, and I'll do show DBs. So you can see this is the DB that we needed, right? Or demo. So I'll do use auth demo, show collections. So I'll do db.users.find. And you can see I have two very large things here. I'll open this user. So you can see I have the username John Doe. I have an ID for the user, and I have something known as salt, and I have something known as hash, right? So this is basically what the password was converted into. And every password has a unique salt and hash, and every hash converts to one single password, right? So this is how our users were actually stored in our database, and this is how they will always be stored, right? Great. So our register is working, and that's basically all I wanted to do in this particular video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.